Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance, the Performance Shop alone, Mopars.com. I am a man on a mission tonight. It is Wednesday night. It's about 9:20 p.m. Needless to say, I got to get this wrapped up, get back in, get some stuff charging, and get back to work. So Monday and Tuesday, basically back-to-back 15-hour days. Today seemed mild, very mild. And last Wednesday, I ran up to Harbor Freight. I was going to pick up a Hercules Ratchet, the extended one. I thought it would give me some better access to something. And they had it, but they did not have a 12-volt battery, so I wound up picking up the Impact. Have not used that yet, but I'm going to, and it's going to start tomorrow. Same thing here. And without further ado, let's just throw this sucker down for you. So, this is the thing I talked about last time. This Hercules 12-volt 3/8 extended reach battery-powered ratchet. So, going from that video, kind of putting it into cliff notes for you. At work, when I have to unpack things, one of those items is a motor. And with said motor, I run into a couple of unique issues, alright? So, it's number one, it's a vertical motor that shifts horizontal, which is crazy, but whatever. So what happens, we've got two sides, and one side has the junction box. We'll say the junction box is here in front of Mopar. So the way this is held down, there's like four bosses on the bottom side, we'll call it in this case. It's really one of the top, like left or right, if you will. But we're going to call it the bottom because it faces the pallet. So there's a boss here and a boss here, and then equal distance from the other side, there's two more bosses. From those bosses, and this is done in a multitude of different configurations depending on the plant, but it's usually something similar, it's bolted to the bosses. There's like a steel plate or a steel bracket, thickness and size and all that stuff depends on the horsepower and weight of the motor. So coming back though on this side, I can probably 80% of the time get access to those fasteners and break them free. On occasion, it's a nightmare because if you use a deep socket, which I typically do, you come up and you basically get to the cooling fins and your ratchet gets stuck. And it's lag screws that we're taking out, the brackets down into the pallet. And so when that happens, you either have to switch to a shallow socket, which typically everything at work, is like deep. It's old school, it's deep, it's SAE. And so that's kind of a headache, but doable. And then, of course, you can come in and use a wrench and, get it free the rest of the way. Much easier on that side. Difference being on this side, there's a junction box. And that junction box creates a nightmare scenario. The bigger the motor, the bigger the junction box. And again, keeping this as short as I can for you. Picture that, like these are the bosses right underneath the Hercules box, and the little steel bracket runs out, we'll say, to here, right? And you're thinking, well, cool, just come in and get them, and what do? Shoot them in at an angle? No problem, Well, now picture a junction box doing this, okay? All of a sudden, you can't get a shallow socket in, okay? And you're stuck with a wrench. And it's just a nightmare situation. Again, each size is a little bit different. But my thoughts were, man, what a waste of time. Because it's lag screws. I'm not going to reuse the lag screws. I do keep them in case I do. But it's very, very rare, that we would do that. When I ship a motor, if somebody just gets one, I typically strap it, really good. That's my preferred method. I could technically go back the way they do. But it's four lag screws, essentially. And then, of course, there's the fasteners on the back. That's all those are there for. It's literally just shipping purposes. So, you have two options. Sometimes you'll have a bag that includes like socket cap screws. And so you run those in, with a hex key. Size depends, again on the motor. And then the other thing you can do, sometimes they actually have, like a decent bolt, and you can just put that back in place. So, I prefer to fill them with one of the two as opposed to leave them open, just personal preference. I think it looks better. But, got to drive those back in, which this will be able to do as well. And again, that's a non-critical, it's almost just an aesthetic thing. The other thing is the lift hook. Being that it's a vertical motor shipped horizontal, you've got the lift hook here on the top side of the box intact, right? And that's what I wind up having to use to lift the motor. And then as you guessed it, the other lift hook would be directly opposite of this underneath, which can't be there because it's on a pallet, right? So, essentially what you then have to do is you have to run those in. That's typically a 5/8 bolt, which would be 15/16. That's kind of You know, typically, if I'm doing 15/16, I want half-inch drive. Maybe on down the line, I do believe the Hercules impacts are actually coming, so maybe that's something we'll invest in. Gonna depend how well this and the little quarter drive hex-based one does. So, without further ado, we're at about the 5-minute mark. If you did not know, I always put timestamps and links for you. That way, if you're like, man, you know, this guy's videos are okay, but I don't like his stories, scroll down and click. It's that simple. For everyone else, the stories could be the selling point and what differentiates you. So I always, when I buy something, I like to tell you why. I mean, everything I bring in, it's typically a situation where I have something in mind, and it's either going to work really well or it's going to be an epic fail. And if it's a fail, I can hopefully at least plug it in other places. This will be that case, because if it doesn't work there, which I think it will, I can do anything with it because I don't own a battery-powered ratchet. So, also, why Hercules? I'm invested heavily in Ridgid. It's what I prefer, and Ridgid does not make a ratchet. So, there you go. That's the story. That's the truth. That's the gospel. It's what I'm sticking to. And what I did, though, with this guy right here, and the reason I didn't buy it, they didn't have these, and I was like, man, you know, I really wish those would come in stock. Internet did not show that they had these, but the internet, you know, changed. Like, I got home that night and it said it was going to be in stock like June 3rd or something crazy online. It then next day was in stock online. I nearly bought the thing, but I thought, well, man, you know, if they get it by the time I'm back up there, surely the store might have some. Looked out, they did. Downside, it's 2 amp hour. I'd prefer, obviously, the 2 amp hour is going to be great for profiling. You know, slim profile is going to be better in most cases, but I'd prefer something a little bit bigger. Maybe that'll happen, but again, just going in light, trying to see what I think of this. We'll have the quarter-based impact, and this, I actually have that at work in preparation for the motors, and I've got a story about that one. I'll save it for the end. If you have to, you know, load or unload freight, I'll have a doozy for you. But got this one right here, and of course, what I went ahead and did, I was like, man, I don't know how long this is going to last. It's a tiny, tiny battery. My Ridgid stuff's really good, but I think that's the smallest amp hour battery I own. And I haven't ever had anything 12 volt. All my first ever battery powered tools were 14.4 Craftsman from like the late 90s, you know, so I don't know what to expect in terms of like runtime on this. Last thing I want is I've got a slew of motors come in and I do like 5 or 6 and then this is dead. You know, I want to either be able to charge it or swap it. Not going to buy another battery just yet. I want to feel it out a little bit. But to save $25, which pretty much got me this for free, I did buy another charger. This is the single version. And essentially, if you recall in the last video, we got the dual charger. My thoughts were I can plug this in and a 20 volt, whatever. If we invest heavily, we can do whatever we want. This one, I think I'm just going to leave it work. And that way I've got it there. If I show up and I was, you know, messing around on the weekend and this thing's like dead, you know, on the second motor, boom, charge it. So, plus, like I said, I saved 25. This is probably the last package deal I will do with Hercules. I have the dual charger, I have this charger. Unless one of them bites the dust or I have some other incentive, it's probably just going to be tools and probably a few batteries. But to give you the price point on this stuff, that battery would run you $24.99. The charger right here is $29.99. The way they do the discount, it takes more off the tool than it does these two items. It might be proportional. I'm not going to sit here and do the math, but basically all in $149.97 for these 3 items. So can't complain about that. The extended reach ratchet is $119 standard, you know, just as issued would be $99, so it's $20 more. I feel like in this case it's $20 well spent because I think it might get me a little better access. That remains to be seen. But I will cut into these off camera, and I think I'll just go ahead and throw this stuff at you. Nut setters, okay? I love these. I love the VHA ones. I like their length. I like that they're magnetic. They also work with all the stainless stuff and fasteners I have thrown at them. That said, the downside to those is they're long. VHA, that's what they make. It's that length. They don't have a shorter one. There were some really nice looking Hercules ones that had like a blue torsion collar. Wanted to buy them, but they were like something 2 9/16, 2.5 to 3 inches overall length. These were not. These were shorter. They're the shortest I could find. That's why I bought them. What was the selling point? They're short. I mean, the shortest distance between two spots, basically. So this is something I will pair with our little impact that we showcased last time. But it is SAE. The sizes here, we've got quarter, 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, and half-inch. Price point for you, I want to say we were $8.99 actually, so not too bad. There's not a ton really to cover on them. You should have a feel for what it is and what it does. It's designed for impact drivers. The magnet holds the fasteners, advanced metallurgy construction, resists wear. It'd be nice if they expanded on what it was made out of. Black oxide, torque point shock, absorbance zone, and then of course the quarter shank. So we'll see how these hold up. That might be, again, a precursor to maybe drill bits or something, just so you have them on hand. Moving on, speaking of 3/8 drive impact stuff. So when I use an impact, it's half-inch. That's just how it is. That's what it's always been. That's what it will be. Except for the Ratchet. The Ratchet is 3/8. At work, everything is half-inch. You know, there's like some tiny quarter sockets here and there. We do actually have a few, but 3/8 for the air ratchets. That said, I want to keep all this intact in my little bag, so it's always with me. I was in a hurry. I didn't really have time to progress much through this, but this is what I did. It's the classic Pittsburgh stuff. I've run Pittsburgh half-inch impacts through a lot. To me, they all hold up about the same. We've got some really, really old proto stuff that I can't say enough of, and I don't know that you could buy new that would be of the same quality. But in terms of modern, you know, like produced in 90s, 2000s and up type of a thing, to me, most sockets are going to be about the same. These are 6 points, and again, it's a kind of a small set, but it is 3/8 drive, so we go 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, half-inch. You can kind of see how it's stamped there. 9/16, 5/8, 11/16, and 3/4. Obviously, for what I'm doing, 7/8 and 15/16 would be super nice. I did not see individual sockets. I also didn't really have time. I had to get in and out of there pretty quick. But the main thing, I think I'll make use of the half and the 9/16 right off the bat with the Ratchet. So pick this up. These are dirt cheap. They're also a lifetime warranty if you were unaware. Let's see here. Where is the price? $9.99. So I mean, that's doable for me. 8 impact sockets, $10. Let's go to town. I probably should have bought a rail. I'll pick one up. Might get an upgraded rail for them. We shall see. I would typically complain that stopped at 3/4, but that's when I'm dealing with half-inch drive. With 3/8, I think that's an understandable stop point. But for everyone that produces half-inch toolkits and you stop, especially with an impact at 3/4, you're crazy, okay? There needs to be more. 7/8, 15/16, inch, even bigger, inch and an eighth. You know, 1 1/16, inch and a quarter. I feel that inch and a quarter should be like your minimum stop point, right? And then how far down you go is sort of like your cutoff factor. You know, maybe even half-inch, start there. But in my opinion, you need to. I've never understood why everyone stops at 3/4 or 7/8. It's one of those. I just don't get it. But it is what it is. Another thing, and this one's totally random for you. I picked this up because my phone, it does this thing where it slow charges, and it does it a lot, increasingly more so, and it's frustrating. Also, the cable by my bed, it's the deal like the walls here, there's a nightstand, and then there's the bed. It's not very far, right? You're probably in the same boat. That cord does not reach the bed. It's like it stops, and you can set the phone on the edge, and that's it. You're not going any farther. So, I have no idea what to expect out of this, but I'm optimistic it will be an upgrade. It's from Armstrong. It's just a USB Type-C, and we'll see what it does. It looks nice, and it's 6 feet long, and that's about all I'm concerned about at this point in time. So if it's a piece of junk, we'll plug it in, and it will slow charge, you know, on its own, even if it's connected perfectly. But there's a polyester weave, there's a PVC jacket, copper shielding, aluminum shielding, got a HDPE insulation, tinned copper wiring, PVC insulation there, and it's 28 gauge. So that's about it. I don't know that we're even going to open that up. It's a USB cable, and I'm not sure how many of you care. But in the event you're traveling, or you got to run in for some errands, and your wife or your girlfriend or your kids or whatever it might be been saying, man, you know, we need a, or they're always in the car with you and their phone's always dying and they have to use yours or something. $9.99. I thought it said $6.99. The receipt says $9. That's one of those deals. We'll see how it does. Now, the other item I want to showcase before we cut into this stuff is right here, and man was I excited to see these. In addition to the 12-volt batteries showing up, guess what else came? Anyone? It's directly related to the previous tool haul. There's two of them. That's right. It's the US General magnetic hook in blue. Now, I got an orange and a green last time, and I've got them literally on the gantry crane right now holding the chain falls off the floor for me. This is really what I wanted. I think it would look better with the gantry. It's also blue, which is nice. It'll match my toolbox, match all kinds of stuff here in the shop. Now, the complaint I could wage, and I noticed this last time, is pretty small hook. Now, to get around that, what you would do, cable tie, Velcro strap, you know, a lanyard, one of those little like aluminum clips, whatever you gotta do. But pick these up. They're $5.49 a piece, which really isn't that bad. Interestingly, the old magnetic hooks they always had with the bigger hook, still not in stock. But hey, we're gonna roll with these. Maybe we'll go for the whole rainbow. I don't know. We'll figure something out though. And I did buy one other big item, but we're gonna make a standalone on that one, so you'll just have to wait. So, got any guesses? Feel free to throw them out. Winner, what do you receive? The satisfaction of knowing you were right. Well, with that said, I got to get this thing opened up. I'll try to have everything kind of cut open for you, and we will take a look at all this. All right, real quick, first thing I opened up was the battery and charger to get that progressing, but went ahead, I decided, since we have it, in case some of you might be interested, this is what this is like out of the packaging. It's actually pretty nice. As long as it functions, I should be a happy man. So we'll go to town with that. Got both of the magnetic hooks opened up. Pretty strong pull just through there, but again, nothing crazy. The only complaint would be, you know, like, it'd be nice to have a bigger hook. Granted, for some people the bigger hook would be a downside. You could easily actually remove this and install your own, particularly if you didn't care about the plating. It's non-marring finish on the back. That's about all there is to say there. Now, this will go with the biggest one in this set. I wish this would have gone through 9/16. Where is the marking? It's right here. Number one, a couple of knocks right off the bat on this. That's difficult to see. It would have been nice, like if it was colored, we can do that with a paint pen or something, I suppose. Color coding would have been super cool. Keep in mind, the slightly longer ones had the nice blue torsion ring, but again, I was going for as compact as possible. But in my opinion, if I'm going to store these, I'm probably going to have it like this. I guess you could put it in a socket tray. Maybe that's what their logic was. But typically anything that is, you know, quarter hex shank based, I would have upside down, you know, or right side up, whichever you want to call it. And if that looks like a 3/1 or something, that's because the stamping is oriented in this manner. So that's a little unfortunate. The other thing, again, I just wish, like, having 9/16 included would have been really, really nice. Now that said, if that was half, this should be 7/16. Let's make sure that it is stamped the same way. Yeah, so they're all looking like it's going to be done in that manner. Which again, I mean, some of you may prefer it, some may not. But if I come in here and I go to one of my little screws that I shoot through the fence, actually that would be 3/8. So where's, this looks like 3/8. Again, it's just a guessing game. Like there's a bunch of random black pieces over there. So yeah, there is our fitments. Let's back this thing back up for you. There's our fitment on this, and again, you know, it's really nice being magnetic, you know, because otherwise you kind of have to hold it in place and hope it doesn't come loose type of a deal. But yeah, I can't really complain past that. There's lots of little things you could do, but then again, you would drive the price up on these. So in terms of visibility though, I mean, you see them back there, they just sort of blend in. So keep that in mind. But again, most of the times when people are using, there's like 1 or 2 sizes. So you know what you're doing. Take that as you will. Now, I actually thought I might be able to use this as the socket rail. I'm guessing that would be a dumb idea, because this was a holy terror to get that thing off of there. So it's been a while since I've had sockets like that. Hero of the day, first thing we do, okay, let me show you, is, I thought, well, man, I'd like have to cut one of the ends off in order to slide these out. And you could probably eventually get these off. I thought I was going to break it. Right now, I just want to throw this thing assembled into, I guess, a sack to take to work, because that's where the bag is that we brought last time. And again, we might have to expand this. I'll have to see if I can get some like standalones and bigger sizes. But I just pried this one off by hand, and then the issue was to get this socket free from that drive side. I had to bust these guys out, which they did the job perfectly. Our cool little tiny Stahlwille pliers, but had to grab that and just rip. You can see where it would nest onto that rail. And then this is not really designed for quick removal or easy removal. I guess logic again, being if you did that, people would just steal them. You lose your 1/2 inch or your 10 millimeter, you go and you take one instead of buying a set or, an individual one. So that's probably what the case is. But, what I'll do, I grabbed a Hazet 8816 HP, and we've got our 1/2 inch drive socket. Again, visibility you could complain about. It's not got like the laser etching or anything. There's the size right there. It's actually really hard to see. Got to get it in like the right spot and it looks good, but then otherwise you're like, okay, what is it? The other thing I did notice on the packaging, I assume these would have been like chrome moly. They're actually chrome vanadium, which, kind of a step down. I think you'd want to go the other way for an impact socket like this, but hey, for the price point and getting me by for tomorrow, it's going to be fine. Let's go ahead. I don't have a quick release on this guy, so you're going to see it firsthand. I'm going to press it down. A little bit of play, maybe more so than I'd like, but not terrible. Let's go ahead and pull that off. That's about all there is to it. This one will be used quite extensively tomorrow. And again, I'll just like get an adapter or something. So as fate would have it, I guess now I will tell you the stupid story. 10 motors came in yesterday. Driver showed up about 7:55 a.m. and luckily I got there at 6:30, so everything was opened up. But most people, I guess, have loading docks, and I do not at work. So, it's usually not a big deal. The trucker, like has a pallet jack in the back, puts stuff up to the front, we get it off, so on and so forth. There's certain lines that just, they don't carry pallet jacks, and the truckers aren't to go in the trailer, which that's fine. But in this case, I had 10 motors come in, and had to get loaded up in there with the pallet jack. And the Austin Powers movie, where the guy's in the little utility cart and here's the wall and he gets stuck like that. That's what it's like, because the people that use the loading dock, instead of having like, a pallet and a pallet and a pallet 5 times, equal side by side, they'll have this one here and then that one there. Okay, it just overlaps. Sometimes it's just by like 6 or 8 inches. What that does for someone like myself in a pallet jack is a nightmare. It's a very, very bad nightmare. And to add insult to injury, and I've got pictures to prove these things, this particular trailer is a reefer. A lot of lines, what they do is they like run deliveries out to the west and they pick up produce, so they need to have, like a reefer unit, and then they bring it back east type of a deal. Well, it's a really nice trailer, it is. I like it, but I don't like it for a pallet jack because there's the ribs. Like if every one of these dots turn it into like a small channel made out of aluminum, that's your floor. And then I've got a pallet jack that's got old school cast iron, wheels and casters, right? So just the whole time you're trying to turn, and it's terrible. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And they slap me with that, when they come in, and then I spend an eternity getting the lag screws out, which that's not even like a critical component. It's just there for freight, right? So it's one of those things. And like I said, I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm sick of the lag screws. And that's where our hero of the day, hopefully, comes in. This guy right here. For everyone worried about the battery and charger, fear not. I got you covered. But again, we're going to take a look at this guy. Extended reach, I am hoping will help me out there if it's a total bust, or if like an impact works or something. This is probably what I would pick to start with. Again, you're talking to a guy that does not use battery-powered ratchets. Every ratchet I use is hand, manual, or pneumatic. And, this is my first foray into this stuff. And for this particular thing, I was thinking, the extended neck is probably a good idea. So, This is 12 volt, 3/8 drive. You got to be careful. If you run in and you're in a hurry, you might grab the wrong drive size. You know, you think, okay, cool, there it is, my extended reach. And you get a quarter, or, you know, maybe an employee shelved them wrong type of a deal. So always be leery of that. Again, legendary performance, we're going to find out. It's going to take time, a lot of time, but we'll eventually know. And 0 to 275 RPM, 40 foot-pounds max torque. Again, tool only. Model number HD 034B. Let's see, anything important here? Not really. Let's get back to the back side for the details for you. All right, so specs, that's the most important part right here. In fact, I want you to see it, and I'm going to read it through the camera. So, max torque, as we said, 40 foot-pounds, speed up to 275 RPM. The overall length, 14 3/4, 14.750. If you've got, you know, a certain application and you think, man, you know, I need to know if that would work, that's the length you're going to need to go by. Net weight, 2.4 pounds. Again, the battery is a featherweight. It's not going to add much at all to this sucker. If anyone wants to see scaled weights and stuff, I can do that for you. But let's take a look at this stuff. So we've got a 4-inch extended neck for greater accessibility in hard-to-reach areas. So if you've got the standard version and it's not working, you need extended reach, picture it 4 inches longer, essentially. 40 foot-pounds, 275 RPM for the power and speed of a pneumatic rack. I don't know about that. I've never bothered to look at the specs, but I know that they spin what seems to be pretty fast, maybe a little slower on the ratchet, but still. All metal gearing for long tool life. Built-in LED light illuminates the work area. It's going to be interesting. It's 4, so that's over here. I guess it depends. Hopefully they have it pointed this way and not down. We'll have to take a look at that. 5, which is going to be right up here at the head. Reinforced steel housing for added durability and strong cranking force. 6, the oversized forward reverse switch is easily accessed when wearing gloves. Thank you. Now, by the way, link to Alpha Gloves. I make nothing off of that. You save 20% when you use the discount code Lone Star, though. 7, compact. Slim profile for use in extra tight engine bay. So that is going to be a selling point for me, particularly if it's an epic fail for what I'm trying to use it for. 8, variable speed paddle trigger for maximum control. Again, you know, it'd be nice if maybe you could dial it in, you know, and have like a set limit type of a thing. But basically you need to go fast, squeeze all the way. You don't need to go as fast. Apply light pressure. That's simple. Number 9, a rubberized overmold grip for ultimate comfort. I will say, just grabbing the in-store models, particularly the last time when I had a little bit more time on my hands, I was impressed. Again, I'm somebody that literally does not use battery-powered ratchets. It's just one of those things, not my cup of tea, but I'm gonna give it a go here with Hercules. So, let's open her up. And slide it out if we get lucky. Alright, nothing in the box. Toss that to the side. Got the cardboard inlay here. No rattling, must not have a belt clip. And I can only imagine it would be awkward if we did. So, this is the model HD031B shown, and if you can tell any difference, it's the neck. This is for the standard one, so obviously they're using the same owner's manual. We're not too concerned about that. You know, there's right, there's left, there's tighten, there's loosen, and there's a variable speed switch. It's 3/8 drive size, so what more does a man need to know? I'm not sure. This sucker here, we're going to test out the head strength by tearing the plastic bag on it, and survive that early acceptance. So here she comes. We're going to go battery side first for you. Should have zoomed this out, but hey, we'll make it dramatic, right? So she's coming down, and man, you don't see much of anything, you poor people. Let me see. So the stand, and that was important to me. I wanted to see if it was stable, had good stability. There it is. Here it is, flipped over. A little top heavy on this guy. Granted, I don't have the battery for counterbalance. I don't know if that was factored into when it was designed or not. But it's always nice to have something in hand that's got good balance to it. It just makes your life easier, less strain and wear and tear on your wrist. So there's the Hercules branding here. You've got it over that area. We've got the vents. Obviously, if you can, when you're operating these things, don't hold it like this. You know, even with your spare hand, try to maybe get the neck or just slightly below. Anything you can do to keep crud from falling in or covering the vents and overheating. I actually kind of like this. Just playing with the handle, I realize that's not how we're going to articulate it unless it's an incredibly ridiculous fastener. But most of the time it's going to be gripped like this. I could get used to that. It'll depend, but we'll see what we think. There's our 3/8 drive, and right here we've got our switch. Very solid, which again, some people are probably going to complain about that. In my opinion, with something like this, it's got speed to it more so than my hand. I'm all right with that. My only complaint would be it's a little bit tall. But again, their reasoning for that was, hey, you can use it with gloves. Can confirm it works with a gloved hand, even with a bad thumb. So that's good. But my only complaint there would just be it takes away from like a tight clearance type of a thing. But that would be about the only complaints at that point in time. So the neck feels pretty good. There's no burrs, everything's smooth. I'm pulling it up to get a better look at it. The batteries, can't fit it. Battery side here, you can see all the connections, and that's really about all she wrote. So what I want to do is figure out where in the world a 1/2-inch socket went. So there it is, right here. Okay. So this is important. We've got the ball detents at the top right there. You can see it because it's the part that's shiny and not black. I'm going to press this on. Fits okay. Not the greatest in the world, not the worst. But that's what she looks like, equipped with a 1/2-inch drive 6-point socket. Now, coming in for everyone curious about the charger, we've got it right here. And a couple things are a little different. Obviously, our dual charger had double the capacity. But the battery charging, you've got a solid red, and you've got the flashing green, which this is the same way. I was curious about that. Just small thing, but it sort of bothers me. I would prefer that the dash, the dashed line of green correspond by having it on top of the solid red. That's just my opinion. Obviously, when you only have a solid green, you're going to be fully charged. Rapid flash, alternating red and green. That's going to be the hot-cold delay. And if it's just dashed red the entire time, you're going to have a problem. Basically, bad news for you. So, this is the battery. Something I noticed about it, aside from how light the thing was the charge meter. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out, as much as I hate to. You notice anything different? Some of you will, some of you won't. Let's first start by doing this. I mean, this is like a little palm pad, right? I mean, it's smaller than a notepad. And it's really not got that much heft to it at all. So it's got good texture on the bottom, because again, in this case, I would probably be either having it stored like this in a bag or standing. Like if I'm not using this, if I pull fasteners and I have to then go stand up, and get the hoist, I'm probably not going to lay it down. I'm probably going to want to stand it. Unless I start kicking it or knocking it over, then I'll probably just lay it down as preemptive maintenance, right? Keep from knocking it around. But the thing that got me, your little fuel gauge or battery life meter, it's only got 3 bars as opposed to 4. I guess it was a space thing, and to keep the icon big and visible so people actually know where it is. Oh hey, we're up to 3 bars. Out of the package, this thing had 2. It is now up to 3. Also, I noticed when I charged the 20 volt, it or the charger had like a pretty noticeable smell. Obviously that was the first charge, so who knows. This one it does, but it's not as bad. Also, if you can tell, I'm not really breathing the greatest right now, but I hate doing things to batteries that are not fully charged. However, for you, I will sacrifice. This is what she looks like with the battery intact, which not too bad. It stands, I mean, this is not a flat surface. It's standing pretty good. So let's give you a look at the head here. I wish there was like a mark on the socket, but I'll try to position where you can watch both. Light pressure. We're now going to just go full throttle. And it smells like it's burning, but hopefully that's not a bad thing. We're going to switch directions. there's that. Coming in right here, this is the LED. It's a single like bulb, like a you know, trying to think of the word and I can't. But when I pull the trigger, you're gonna see it. SOS. Why does it smell like that, right? That kind of thing. Gonna hold it down so you can kind of appreciate it. And what I'm gonna do now is flip the perspective for you. And so imagine we were at an angle coming in, I don't know, we're putting on a fuel pump block off plate, right? So you're down there, you're underneath your headers and everything. Let's see how well this illuminates. I realize it's not like focused great for you, you know, but that's kind of helping with showcasing the light. So let me get all that out of your way. This should give you a non-blurry, come on, non-blurry, I say. I mean, it's not the best, it's also not the worst, it's also functional, you know what I mean? And again, personally, I have nothing to compare it to. Coming in, I don't smell direct off the motor. I think the odor comes from the battery, actually, so that's at least good. I'd rather replace a $24 battery than a $119 Ratchet, but that's it. I'm going to see what I think of it, again, starting tomorrow. So like I said, I've got the Hex Impact out there already in the bag with that funky little stretch flex guy. And I, true story, did put a Vera Impact adapter and then an Impact rated, because the Vera adapter went from quarter, hex shank to 3/8 drive, and then I put a 3/8 to 1/2 inch adapter on that. So like I said, everything I use, and when I do it by hand even, that's where I took my little Tecton, funky ratchets, same as Harbor Freight, still holding up very well, might I add. It's the composite ratchet, that's what I was trying to say. I typically use that, and I've just got like, the big 1/2 inch stuff. It's what I use, everything, whether it's 15/16, 1/2 inch, smaller, it's just I use 1/2 inch drive. So that's why this is here. It's just kind of a placeholder for now. We'll see how they hold up. Again, I've used their standard 1/2 inch drive impacts in the past. Haven't really had any issues. Not like they wear out super fast compared to Brand X. It's just kind of like they're all roughly the same, and these are just cheaper. So, again, very, very, very limited experience with 3/8 impact stuff. Pretty much everything I have at work is like old proto, and it predates my time of purchasing. So with that said, this is what I brought in. Again, there is another item, but I'm going to make a standalone on it. I'm going to get that battery back on the charger, take this stuff in with me. So tomorrow I will be using this ratchet, that battery, the quarter impact, and the 20-volt battery. I'll have this charger at work in case they just have terrible battery life. I'll have those magnetic nut setters, which are super stubby. Would be fantastic if VHA would crank out, like a stubby version of this that's color-coded still. Because again, once you learn the color codes, it's really, really helpful. But we'll see how those do. We'll see how this does. Pretty optimistic about it. Tonight I will switch over to that USB cable. Hopefully it takes away the slow charging issue that I've been having. That's about it. That's about all I've got for you. So again, I'm going to get this thing set up. I don't really have much to complain about. The battery is showing all 3 bars right there. The charger did not show that it was fully charged. So I'm going to try to remedy that. But boy, howdy. Having a hard time getting that battery out of there. Alright, so hopefully it doesn't need too much longer to charge. I thought it was going to stay solid green there for a second. But yeah, all this stuff will be put to use ASAP, starting tomorrow. And I've got 10 motors, tons and tons coming in, but I've got 10 to work with. Specifically did not start today because I thought, I'm going to go up there Wednesday and I'll hopefully be able to snag this and the battery. And we did. So I've got that going for me. I'll get these hooks in use, and that's about all I've got for you. So do hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a little something. Again, if you have first-hand experience with the Hercules battery-powered stuff, in this case in particular, the 12-volt ratchet, let me know. How's it holding up for you? How do you like it? Any issues? Again, that's what people would be most interested in. Similarly, if you use the Armstrong USB cables, how do they rate in your opinion? And since I don't have much experience with the 3/8 impact stuff, how do these hold up for you? Obviously, if people are buying those, you have to assume it's most likely being used for a ratchet, you know, whether it's pneumatic or battery powered, because otherwise we'd most likely be in a quarter, you know, or I should say half-inch drive territory. So thoughts and feedback appreciated there. Again, end goal is to help people out. These are just my first impressions on everything. Well, it's, once more, by picking this up with the battery, which again I have to get because it's 12 volt, and this may very well be the only 12 volt tool I buy unless I get more ratchets. Everything else most likely will be 20 volt. The charger is great because it works with either one, which is much appreciated by the consumers across the board. But by getting all three of these as a package deal, save 25. Moving forward, probably not going to do that package anymore, unless, like I said, there's an issue with the charger or something. It's been a couple of years, but I will hope for the best. I'll kind of now be able to keep tabs on battery life for you. And we'll come back and try to do some updates if that's something to interest people. But, save 25 going this route, which basically, if you want to think of it that way, 25 extra in your pocket. I essentially got this for free, the nut setters for free, and let's see, that would be 10, 20, one of the magnetic hooks. Basically, it's almost like you got them for free. So I'm good with that. Hopefully this thing will help me and do what I want it to do. If it doesn't, I will use it on friends' cars and stuff. Like I said, I'm weird. I'm old school. When I work on my own crud, vast majority of the time I just prefer doing it by hand. I can't really explain it. That's just how I am. And apparently it's how I'm always going to be because I haven't changed. So maybe this will bring me around to modern times. I don't know. I do like air tools. And again, certain situations, rust, suspension, that type of stuff, like heavy components. I don't mind it, but for whatever reason, I'm weird and I like going by hand. So that's what I do at work. Of course, it's a different story. I use air all the time, but except on the pallets. That's super annoying. Again, it requires like 50+ foot air hose, and then you either have to get on the forklift and move the motors around again so you can reach, or switch the connection and get an extension that's 25. It's just a mess. So this is going to be awesome if it works. If it doesn't work, I'm probably going to work until I find something that does, because I'm just sick of turning those lag screws out. So that's really what all this came down to, is lag screws and pallets. So it's an expensive solution, but if it makes my life easier and happier, so be it, right? With that said, I got to get inside. I do hope you enjoy it. I'm going to get a drink, shower, and go to bed and get ready to start testing this stuff out in the real world. So stay tuned for that. Again, if you want updates on this, let me know. I'll give you, like I said, honest assessment on my seat time and everything like that. But in the meantime, LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whichever you prefer. All that aside, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you back here for more action from the shop.